This week's Evolutionary Love Code. Let's read it together out loud. Your unique gift addresses a unique need within your circle of intimacy and influence that can be addressed by you and you alone. In that precise sense, your unique gift is needed by all that is. In this precise sense, you are needed by all that is. God needs your service. Your deed is God's need. Okay, so this is a big deal. This is a really, really big deal. Let's see if we can frame this code. Let's see if we can frame this code. This is a very big deal. It's a very big deal. And it's super relevant to our phenomenology of Eros. We've written 12 volumes that are not published yet of a phenomenology of Eros. And we wrote about some really important things there. It's super important to unique self theory and unique self institute. It's super important to One Mountain, but it's important to reality. This is beyond, okay? This is beyond. This is a game changer. Everything changes here. So we live in a planet drenched in shame. And when I'm talking about shame, I'm talking about shame as the root of all evil. Not a kind of an appropriate shame that's calling me to myself, but the toxic shame that I'm somehow broken, that I'm somehow not enough. For those of you who were with us in mystery school, we spent a day, 2 days on shame. In wisdom school, we talked deeply about shame. Shame is the root of all evil. Right? The feeling that I'm missing a part, that I'm essentially not worthy. I'm essentially bad. The part's not made anymore. Can't be ordered from the factory. Shame is the root of all evil. And at the core of shame is two dimensions. There's two dimensions that live at the core of shame. One is my needs. I'm shamed by my needs themselves. And it begins in childhood. And one of the things that we've disclosed in the last 70 years of thought, looking carefully at early childhood, we have this experience of the child being humiliated in their attempt to get their basic needs met. We were all, as children, somehow, even with the best parenting or the good enough parenting, right? There's a fundamental, always lack of attunement between people. We're never fully attuned to each other, and our needs are never fully met. That's not a bug in Cosmos. It's not an accident. It's the intention of Cosmos, right? How we transmute and transform ourselves in that space between the full meeting of our needs and the space between desire and its full fulfillment is who we become. But we all, in some sense, experience that our needs are not fully met. And need and desire are one. Does everyone get this? Need and desire are fundamentally one. There's no split between need and desire. I have generic general needs, and I have unique needs that are unique to who I am. And I have unique desires. And again, I'm not talking about surface desire. I'm talking about your deepest heart's desire. What Barbara and I, we put desire at the center of the wheel of co-creation, which was originated by Barbara, and then we revisioned it as Wheel 2.0. And actually, in one of our upcoming books, The 5 Keys that I'm working on with Sally Adnams, right? Barbara and I worked on together, and Sally's really just artistically bringing it together, right? We talk about the 5th section is going to be about the wheel of co-creation. And the wheel of co-creation, which is our map of reality, we placed at the very center. The very center, we placed desire, and particularly your deepest heart's desire. Your deepest heart's desire is dignified. It's your deepest need. Now, this is a very big deal because both Eastern and Western traditions of spirit in their own ways degrade need. So let's say the West, the entire Judeo-Christian tradition in its exoteric form and its public forms, talks about what should you be? You should be like God. Imitatio Dei, be like God. And we want to let you know God has no needs. So the entire church, synagogue, mosque tradition is imitatio Dei, be like God, and God has no needs. So what does that mean about your needs? So your needs by definition are non-godly, because to be godly is to be beyond needs. Or if you're in an enlightenment tradition of, let's say, the classical mystical form, let's say in an Eastern variety. So the absolute, let's say in Buddhism, the Buddha absolute has no needs. And therefore the enlightened one is in full balance with no needs. And needs themselves, particularly sexual needs, right, are a violation of the enlightened state. So whether we're talking about an Eastern path or a Western path, we're talking about the humiliation of need at its core. If you want to be enlightened or you want to be like God, which are the two goals of the classical Homo sapiens spiritual personality, you have to move beyond need. But we actually never move beyond need. And need and desire are interlinked. We never move beyond need. Never, ever. Like, wow, that's a very big deal. Now, let's stay really close, and that's this week's code. So at the leading edges of understanding, at the most subtle and gorgeous mind hearts that Cosmos has generated, in their interior sciences, generated this new realization about the nature of Cosmos, the nature of divinity, the nature of enlightenment. And if I would say it in 3 words, in Hebrew, I would say avodat tzorech gavoa. In English, I would say reality needs your service. God needs your service. God needs your service, right? You're actually needed. Now, that's shocking, because it's not just about your dignity because you're needed, which is huge. We'll get to that in a second. But it's actually the realization that within divinity, need lives. God has needs. God is both beyond all. God is both, as a dear friend said last night, God is the overflowing arich in Kabbalah, the long face of God in a Kabbalistic term, who flows, right, gorgeously, love without any needs. So there's a divinity, there's a face of God which is beyond all needs, right? The absolute, absolutely. And there's a dimension in which divinity loves reality so much that God says, I'm willing to need you. And I love you so much that I'm willing to allow myself, the infinite God who's all powerful, God who's the infinity of power, God who is the infinity of power says, I'm willing to also be the infinity of intimacy and to need you intimately, infinitely. I'm willing, says God, the infinity of power, to be the infinity of intimacy, which means that the divine voice is saying, I need you intimately, infinitely. Like, right? It's beyond imagination. And on the East, for example, in Kashmir Shaivism, the root tradition of Hinduism, they speak of a stirring of desire in the infinite. And a stirring of desire is a stirring of need, which means we're affirming the dignity and divinity of need. And it's only when we affirm the dignity and divinity of need that we can move beyond shame. I can know that actually the desire that rises in me, not every desire, not my pseudo desires, right? Buddha in the original Pali Canon, right, said have few desires, but have great ones, right? But it's not just great desires. If I can use the formal term from the interior sciences, I need to be mevarer chuka, which means I need to clarify my desire. I need to know what is my deepest heart's desire, and then to know that that deepest heart's desire is evolution itself. Evolution is desire. That's what evolution is. Evolution is the movement of reality desiring ever more complexity, which is ever more intimacy, which is ever more creativity, which is ever more love, which is ever more uniqueness. These are the plot lines of reality's desire, of reality's yearning. The intimate universe desires, and the intimate universe lives in me. God desires. The God you don't believe in doesn't exist. That's the God who's only the absolute, and who's beyond desire. Right? God says, I'm not just the unity of power, I'm the infinity of intimacy, and I need you. And here's the thing, and we're going to turn to Barbara in a moment, and Barbara's going to love this open with us. But let's just go deep for a second now, okay? Can we go like super crazy deep now for a second? So what we're saying is that if I really love you, then I'm willing to need you, right? To say I love you means I need you, and I need you desperately. Now stay close. We have what we call the four selves or the five selves. So the first level of self is the separate self. And there's dignity to the separate self, right? Right, separate self. But there's a level at the separate self in which, right, we have to affirm each other's needs with great dignity and we have to love each other. But there's also a level which we're worried about codependency. We're worried about being manipulated, right? We're worried about people saying they love us, but really just needing us, and love becoming a strategy to get their needs met, right? So the level of separate self, we honor each other's needs, we love each other, but we're also concerned about not needing in a way that becomes codependent, and about people claiming to love us, but really just needing us, right? Then we go to a level of true self. And at level of true self, when I realize I'm one with consciousness, then for a moment I let go of all needs. I'm just in being, and I'm actually one with the consciousness of reality, right? I'm pulsing with the pulse of reality. And for a moment, I let go of needs and I rest in the seamless code of the universe that lives in me gorgeously and uniquely. But then when I realize that that seamless code of the universe that lives in me gorgeously and uniquely is not just consciousness and unchanging, but that seamless code of the universe at the level of true self that lives in me is alive and desiring, and that it actually desires uniquely through me, I awaken to unique self. And at the level of unique self, I reclaim desire. And I desire you and you desire me. And we have a right to desire and to be desired. And we have a right to need and to be needed. And at the level of unique self, I love you madly. And I can actually move beyond my ego and say, I need you desperately. If I can't look in the eyes of my evolutionary family and my evolutionary beloved and my evolutionary beloveds, right, in our circle, my sisters, my brothers, right, all my sisters and brothers, and I can't, right, and I can't say, and sometimes at that person, right, who's so precious with me, and just look deeply in his eyes and deeply in her eyes and say, I love you desperately, and I need you desperately, right? That's not codependent need, but it's more raw. It's not less raw. It's not this sophisticated. No, it's raw. It's desperate. I love you. I need you. Wow. And no one but you can fill those needs in some profound and real way. And then I move to evolutionary unique self, right? And then we say, we stand together and we say, reality loves and needs us. Reality loves and needs us. And we have unique ways of expressing and addressing the needs of reality, the needs of evolution. We become bodhisattvas. We become a unique self-symphony of beloveds, wholemates, right? Not just soulmates, turning to the world to address its needs with full power and love, because we actually know I love you, I need you. Right? And it's only when I can turn to you and say, I love you, I need you desperately, that I can actually hear the whisper of the divine turning to me and saying, oh my God, Mark, I love you and I need you desperately. If I can't turn to my beloved and say, I love you and need you desperately, then the beloved doesn't turn to us and dignify us with the desire of what Rumi called the beloved, the friend, who says, I love you and I need you desperately. Reality needs your service. Reality needs your deepest heart's desire, right? And all of a sudden, my desires, all of them, all of my desires, all of my clarified desires, and the root spark of all my desires is sacred. And I move beyond shame, and I become alive and whole and pulsating and serving the whole, and in radical joy, laughing out of one side of my mouth and crying out of the other side of my mouth in a way that I've never imagined possible, right? Wow. We got Barbara, right, coming up. Right, Barbara's take us inside. Right, thank you, Barbara.
Thank you, Mark, and everyone, and all our prayers. Reality needs your service. Now, what in the world does that mean? First of all, what's reality? And secondly, what's your service, and why should it be needed? So all of those things are a great mystery at which I would like to explore with you. So what is reality? We are saying that reality is the self-organizing universe. It's not an external God. It's not being manipulated, but there is, you might say, an innate quality in evolution itself. It is the thing itself. It isn't something about the thing or something external to the thing. It's the thing itself. Reality is this incredible self-organizing universe that needs your service. Oh my God, well, what could my service be to the self-organizing universe of the entire billions and billions of galaxies? So zeroing in on myself within the awesome extent of the self-organizing universe, here is what I believe everyone's true contribution to reality is. It is your deepest heart's desire. In order for you to know what your contribution is, it's not some external act. It's not even something nice that you might do for someone or for yourself. It's your deepest heart's desire. And I want to look at that for a moment to see, is it true? And let's everyone look for a moment internally. It's not easy to come up with your deepest heart's desire, because one of the things we've discovered about Homo, amor universalis, is that all of our vocations have no lid on the top. Our deepest heart's desire is not, let's make a slightly better book, or let's do a slightly better thing over here or there or elsewhere, even though that's important. But let's say I asked myself, Barbara, what is your deepest heart's desire? I had to let it go the whole way to be my deepest heart's desire. And I found it's the impulse of evolution within me desiring. You know what's desiring inside of you and me? It's the self-organizing universe. And the way the self-organizing universe inside of you expresses itself is at your deepest heart's desire. And Mark has been saying, don't hold back, not only with your prayers, but with your deepest heart's desire for your service to reality. You will find that you're tapping into the essence of the self-organizing universe inside you. Now that's awesome, because it's unique in everyone and needed by everyone, through everyone, for the universe. And when you say yes to it, if you can find it, and like for me, it's the planetary awakening in love through unique self-symphony to turn on the noosphere so that we jump through the system of breakdown to breakthrough. That's my deepest heart's desire. And everything I do, one way or another, is coded by that self-organizing universe. And imagine by saying yes to it, you're saying yes to the God within you. You're saying yes because God is showing up as your deepest heart's desire that you have to say yes to. Now, here's the other thing I find about saying yes to my deepest heart's desire. Coded in it is my evolutionary genius. Coded in your deepest heart's desire is your most awesome creative potential. It's what you know that you might not even be aware that you know unless you say yes to your deepest heart's desire, because it's a secret It's too big to be noticed otherwise. You would feel, sort of, overly bold or not wise to say my deepest heart's desire is to contribute to the planetary awakening of humanity. So let's everyone think for a moment, if you want to write it up there, my deepest heart's desire is, knowing that it in there is coded your genius, your unique evolutionary potential that knows how to do it. Here's another one of God's secrets. When you're giving, when reality needs your service, it means God needs you to say yes to your deepest heart's desire so God can be an expression of your most evolutionary, great potential self, so that the universe can evolve through and as each of us. Oh, is that a good plan? If I were God, that's the way I would have thought it up. Well, so that seems to be what's so. So let's go one more step now. And I'm discovering this in the cosmo-erotic universal understanding of the wheel of co-creation. Because you are in the wheel of co-creation now, if you could imagine the spiral and the wheel, and your deepest heart's desire is going somewhere like in health or education or economics, but it's not going there alone, because in the wheel of co-creation, from that core of the spiral is coming everyone's expression of their deepest heart's desire, where it fits best in the whole system of the shift. Now, this is, as I've mentioned before, Jonas Salk says it's not survival of the fittest, but survival of what fits best. For reality to show up, it seems to have coded itself with the need for synergistic convergence to make the jumps. It's never made just through great individuals alone. It's made through synergistic convergence. Now, just imagine for a moment that you are in the wheel of co-creation, giving your gift, and reality needs your service, and it's whatever it is that's unique for you, but you're not alone in giving your gift. So is everybody else. And we will discover that we have the capacity to do the whole shift, that reality needs not only your personal capacity, it needs your capacity as part of the system of which you're fitting in best. And what we haven't yet done in society that is most needed for everyone's reality to serve is to create social synergy among our genius. And that social synergy created to serve reality, where what happens then to you is you find that your genius is truly a direct expression of the love code of evolution. Where else would it come from? Wow. And to just allow ourselves for a moment to realize that each of our deepest heart's desire is coded with our genius, and that our genius is an expression of the evolutionary impulse of creation, or love, the love story of the universal love story. It's the core. And we are, as the purpose of a truly evolutionary church of evolutionary love, would be an instigator of the whole system shift. Is that true? Am I being ridiculous? Or are we having a true thought here? Let's make this church into the first place where the deepest hearts of desire and unique genius of humanity shows up as a synergistic reality for any group. Oh my God. So it's not to say we're the only place in the world where this will show up. We have to be one place in the world where it shows up. Because all you ever need in society is to do it once somewhere well. And it's usually in a muddy pool of evolution that nobody has ever noticed. It's not on the top of the Empire State Building at first. There's going to be coming a deep, deep thanks to you from our hearts to you. Thank you. I turn it to you, Mark.
Thank you, Barbara. Thank you, love. Right? In a muddy pool of evolution. Right? That's what the great evolutionary thinker wrote, right? Thank you, Barbara. So beautiful, right? And Barbara and I spend the last 5 years of Barbara's life bringing together the memes that I was articulating with Barbara's championing of conscious evolution. And what you've heard today is an expression of that deep coming together. These are the elegant evolutionary love codes of cosmos. When I actually realize that desire is not the place where I get lost, that when I clarify desire and I access my deepest heart's desire, which pulses in me, my deepest heart's desire is the evolutionary impulse pulsing in me, that unique evolutionary impulse pulsing in me is coded with my unique self, is coded with my evolutionary genius, and that I then become attractive to, and I am attracted towards those unique selves who can co-create with me. And we begin to connect what's working within us with others. We begin to connect what's working worldwide. Social synergy, which is what we call planetary awakening in love through unique self symphonies. We take our place in the great wheel of co-creation 2.0, which is envisioned through the cosmo-erotic universe. Wow. And we all have a role to play, and our roles are multivalent and multifaceted. Wow, it's like so exciting. It's so wild. It's so true. And it's barely spoken. So it's our job. It's our mission. It's our commitment. It's our joy, right? In this one mountain, many paths, to resource this mountain so that we can actually take this weekly casting forth of our love, this weekly band of outrageous lovers, this podcast, this one mountain, this coming together, right? This gorgeous cacophony of evolutionary souls, and download it into the very one breath and one heart of cosmos itself.